Welcome to Heaping Spoonful, a twice-monthly conversation with restaurateurs, chefs, growers, and others who have helped generate the legends associated with eateries across the Mid-South. The team at Benny Keith is proud to sponsor this adventure with the goal of preserving the stories that have helped cultivate an amazing food scene across the Mid-South. So kick back and enjoy a Heaping Spoonful.
I like it.
Greetings, everybody out there in podcast land, and welcome to Heaping Spoonful. I'm your host, Kelly Bass, and I really appreciate Benny Keith Foods giving me the chance to visit with top chefs and restaurateurs across the Mid-South on these podcasts. I have been a foodie since long before that term was even invented, and for the better part of 30 years, I had the privilege of writing dining reviews for a couple of Little Rock, Arkansas-based newspapers and then magazines, long before the internet gave everyone a chance to be a food critic on Yelp or TripAdvisor or wherever they might be. I will tell you, and I mean this in all sincerity, I have learned to love talking about food much more than writing about it. Today, our guest is Jordan Wright, owner-operator of Wright's Barbecue, which, here we go, started as a food truck, morphed into a cool little spot in and around an old house in Johnson, Arkansas, added 2 more locations in Northwest Arkansas, and is in the process of opening a 4th location in Jordan's hometown of Little Rock. All of that in a few short years. So, welcome, Jordan.
Hey, well, thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
Your barbecue journey is a great story, and perhaps it's interesting because, again, the internet tells all. Luckily, in my case, I was able to learn a lot about you and your journey before this conversation. But you made it clear that, you know, the aha moment for you, it turns out to be exactly the same aha moment I had a few years ago, though I must say mine didn't lead to becoming a restaurateur. I'm too old and too lazy for that. But the aha moment I'm talking about is when you took your first bite of truly transcendent beef brisket, smoky, totally tender and juicy, and just mind-blowingly awesome. When was that moment? Where were you? And just tell us the effect that it had on you.
Yeah, so I was traveling during my time at Tyson. I was traveling down to Austin, Texas, and we had the opportunity to stand in line at Franklin. And I was at Franklin way too late to actually getting food, and there was still about another hour and a half of line left to be going to get through. And someone walked up to me and was like, "Hey, you know you're not going to get food if you're standing in line." And I was like, "No, I didn't know that." And so I kind of hung out a little bit longer, called my boss who was coming to meet with me, and then we went out to Dripping Springs and went out to the Salt Lick. It's a famous place with wineries, smell of toast oak, smoke everywhere. It's an awesome spot. They've got a big warming fire pit that they hold all the meats on this big open pit. It's been on Food Network tons. And I'd never had moist brisket. And so that was really like the bite that was like, wow, this is really good. And we, in Arkansas, you just don't get that. You've got a lot of people smoking flats. Competition style barbecue is typically what kind of ends up opening restaurants. And so people win a few competitions, they cook what they have to cook for the competition, and they don't really, explore out beyond that because it's what they've spent so much time trying to master. And the reality is cooking flats just is not my thing. So I love the whole brisket and getting to enjoy the super delicious fatty brisket.
Yeah, and my moment came in the summer of 2017. My wife and I met a couple, and the husband, Matt Golick, who is a Texas native. We were over at their house, and he sliced a brisket he had cooked on his big green egg in his backyard. And I just went, man, this is nothing like brisket I've had ever. And again, he had the two tins of it, and one was the fatty side, and that's where I spend all my time. And every time they moved to New Braunfels, and we're going to go see them moderately soon, and they've gone to Franklin, and they got there early enough. But I said, tell me with all sincerity that their brisket's better than yours. He said, well, I can't tell you that, but they cook at scale. And I listened to the interview that you did. Cooking at scale is a whole different thing, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So again, I may not ever have better briskets unless I come to your place because you're doing it. I mean, is your brisket, in your opinion, up on the level of what is drawing the huge lines in Texas?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. I think it's funny. Texas is number one, a different place. The big lines are usually at places in large, dense population spaces like Houston, Austin, Dallas, Lockhart at times. There's big lines, but like the whole, hey, it's huge line culture was built, by Franklin. Franklin, I mean, I don't know, to my mind, anything before Franklin that was causing so much fever pitch to try to eat there and have that one spot. Like there's a few other places, like even ours, like we try to work through our line as quickly as possible. We want our barbecue to be more accessible than just, hey, we're open for lunch only and you better get there early in order to get it. And so there's a few different little, kind of quips and techniques of how, like, say those lines even form. One place is open one day a week. Well, obviously you're open one day a week in a state like Texas. Now you've got 20 million people just, kind of be like, okay, let's plan to go there on a Saturday. Okay. Well, that's a bunch of full Saturdays with long lines. Right. So yeah, I mean, that's our brisket is top notch. We source, the best brisket we can possibly find. And our team does an incredible job preparing it. Is every brisket 100% perfect, or is every cook 100%? Well, look at life, look at every restaurant. No one is able to cook at 100% perfection. I think that there's something to be said for the pursuit of that perfection in every cook. You can do that 100% of the time. You can pursue to be the best every time you go cook. And so, yeah, I mean, I think our brisket stands alone. Really, there's a couple other great places like Ridgewood Brothers in Russellville is doing a great job with their brisket. And so there's some people out there that have started, deviating the way, or just whether they deviated from their old path to start trying to cook whole brisket, or like Ridgewood Brothers, like they started just, cooking Texas style. They're fans. They've been, in food. They were in food truck for a while we were kind of getting our stuff in when we were opening restaurants. They were starting to open their food truck and stuff. So it's been really encouraging to see that number one, just because it's Texas style, like in the preparation, salt and pepper, it doesn't mean Texas owns an entire product line, or that people from Arkansas or North Carolina or Tennessee don't love delicious, succulent meat. And so I've got a friend in Memphis, or just north of Memphis in Martin, got Blake's Barbecue, and in Martin, Tennessee, and they do a great job. And my friends in New Orleans at Blue Oak, they do a great job on brisket. My friends in Connecticut do a great job on brisket. Yeah. So the restaurants that we like to go to, and the restaurants that I love, and even the ones in Texas when I was eating brisket's just a component of a total menu. And then at the same time, your sides have to be so good in order to get diners to not just be like, oh, it's just your traditional everyday old, throwaway barbecue sides from a can. Right. They didn't think, they're non-thoughtful. A lot of people spend time, on meat. They won't spend time on the sides, or they're so like set in their process ways. They don't really spend much time on either. The way they do it is the way they do it. They're never going to change it. And, that's where you see people, that's where businesses decline. I think that our goal has always been to get better every day. So,
but you're right about the sides particularly. My favorite place to get catfish in Little Rock, I don't even bother with the right out of the tin, right out of the tub slaw. And there's a really famous barbecue place in Little Rock that I know their potato salad comes from Benny Keith. It's good potato salad, but they don't make it. And I just, I appreciate your commitment to that. And, we hope there's Heaping Spoonful listeners all over the universe. But for those who don't understand regional differences, in Arkansas and Texas are bordering states. But The chance that the reason that you even had the chance to get blown away, as an adult by that great briskets, because pork is king in Arkansas, particularly pulled pork and pork ribs. And if Arkansas barbecue restaurants even have brisket, as you said, they cook the flat, and it usually kind of sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think pork is king because that's what people, have done. I think that most of the places, again, like I love pulled pork, but you can get great pulled pork pretty much everywhere that serves pulled pork. That's why it's a popular item. So I don't know if I've ever had really bad pulled pork unless it's really dry and overcooked and reheated or something. But, pork is great and there's nothing bad about pork. I think. And you serve pork. Oh yeah, we sell a ton of it. But I mean, being a great barbecue restaurant requires having multiple proteins that are really dialed in, like how to cook everything that's on your menu. There's turkey, brisket, your chicken, your wings when you have them, your prime rib, whatever it may be that you're putting into your cookers. Like you're caring about it tremendously and making the best product available. It really doesn't matter what state you're in or what type of cuisine your state is used to eating or what type of barbecue. If the food is delicious and the service is really good, there's your formula.
True. And so back to your post Salt Lick experience. So you had that fabulous barbecue, and it again, based on what I've read, you kind of kept exploring and expanding your horizons. But at this point, you were just loving eating barbecue and maybe cooking it in your backyard, but this wasn't the point in time you said, I'm going to be a barbecue guy as a business, or am I wrong about that?
Yeah. No. So, I mean, my parents got me a chemistry set when I was 12, and it was like not the best gift. It was probably one of the worst gifts ever because I hated science. And like, it was always a joke for like 20 years of life. Was just, can't believe y'all got it to chemistry set. So every Christmas that joke kind of kept getting retold. And that was probably 15 years ago, or 11 years ago. My parents were doing Christmas and they're giving out presents, and my sister, and it's funny, it's like we're adult children at this point. We had a 1-year-old at the time, and parents are still blessing us with Christmas. And so, we're getting these presents. My sister's getting stuff. My brother's getting stuff. My wife's getting stuff. It's like all awesome. I've got a few items, and none of them were as big as the other items. So I was like, oh, it's okay, fine. I'm good. I don't need gifts. I'm good. I'm an adult. I'm fine. And then my mom and dad were like, let's go to the garage or get some garage. So we walked to the garage, and there's a brand new large green egg, and that's like a $1,200 gift. And it was like, This is awesome. And so, they got that gift. I took that back home, and I had a few friends that like the years prior in like 2010, 11. And again, this is really before, really the age of I'd say new school barbecue or Franklin kind of YouTube land. And so really what you had at the time was, how to barbecue right on the internet, or I think there was like the ribs, Malcolm, I forgot his name, but that guy, how to do ribs right. There's a couple websites that like it's all you had. So you kind of get on the internet and start learning how to do barbecue. And I did that and started just kind of tinkering with, making my own seasonings. That's probably the big thing is I got the chemistry set, hated it. And then fast forward to getting the barbecue. And now all it is chemistry and flavors and different components that go into making a flavor profile, which is basically food chemistry and food science. And so I started doing that and catering like my kids' birthday parties and other friends' events, and, got asked to do, a wedding. And, so I had 2 butts on one of my friends' green eggs, and I had another 2 butts on my green egg at my house all day, cooking 4 butts to cater this wedding. And so it was really funny. So there's little experiences like that. And then around 14, 15, there's an opportunity we had a church launch, an opportunity to feed the volunteers, cook for about 100. And, just to help save the church money, I volunteered to do it. I borrowed a cooker from a guy and cooked, a bunch of chicken thighs and cooked some butts and just made a great meal, served it, to 100. And I was like, oh, you know what? I can do this. And so this that's catering, catered a meal. And it was like, okay, that's fine. It's good. I liked it. And then at that point, that's when I kind of went back to Texas and was like, okay, oh, wow, look at this type of cafeteria style service, the meat cutter slicing right in front of you, the delicious meat right there. And then seeing that and, a few friends just being like, man, you could do this. If you really did it, you could do it. And I had no restaurant experience. I'd been in food service sales, and then I'd been at Tyson at the time for about 4 years. And then I decided, maybe I should just buy a food truck. So bought a food truck and decided, hey, let's go try this out and get involved. And so that's kind of.
Yeah. The food truck was, you had your smoker behind it, and then you served out of the truck. You didn't cook it in the truck. I mean, you had it right hooked on, I guess.
Yep. So the trailer has a little box it had a little holding table. It had a 3-basin sink, a hand wash sink, and this little 5x5 box, and then a serving window was required and a door. So that was technically the kitchen. And then the smoker was on the back. We did all the prep in the back, made everything, cooked everything, trimmed. I had a little pop-up table. We trim all our meats, get it on, and then we'd smoke the meat all night, drive it to the farmer's market and sell breakfast burritos, breakfast tacos, and barbecue plates at the farmer's market. Started doing that in 2016. Keep doing activities. You're like,
right. This is still a side hustle, though, right? You're still going to work at Tyson every Monday through Friday.
Oh yeah, and so I would get off work.
What did you do for Tyson?
I started in commodity sales, doing frozen chicken leg quarters all over the world, and then switched to the prepared food service side, and was in food service sales, and then switched to industrial, so like toppings, pepperoni, sausage crumbles, all of the components that go into frozen pizza. So, and different, whether it's a company like, Jenny Craig was a customer, a bunch of pizza places and like frozen pizza companies in upper Midwest were customers. So I did that for a while. And then as I was doing that, so it was like a Friday, right? I'd get off work at Friday and, go home, immediately start the fire. As I was starting the fire, I'd start trimming all my briskets, get them on first. And then I'd get all my butt seasoned, get them on, keep the fire going, go to bed, wake up every hour, keep stoking the fire, wrap all my stuff. And then at about 5 a.m., I'd leave to go to the farmer's market and go rock and roll. So.
Yeah. Wow. And so clearly you had moved well beyond your green egg at that point. So had you already bought a smoker? I guess you had to have bought one when you had your food truck. What did you decide?
The trailer. Yeah. So there's a few things. The trailer I bought in early 2016. A friend was doing a barbecue competition, and he had a smoker lined up to help us so we could use it for this event. And during that process was when he had asked me to do this barbecue competition for him. And during that process, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to order my own cooking trailer. And it was just going to be a little 250-gallon reverse flow cook trailer. And in that process, a friend was like, man, why don't you just upgrade that and build a food trailer and go take it to the farmer's market? So I was like, maybe I should explore that. And that's definitely a better option than just spending, say $6,000 or $7,000 on just a trailer. Maybe I'd build it and do this side business and pay back the trailer. So I picked up the trailer in March of 16, took it to Houston, won a barbecue contest, won first place brisket, and then came up and started. So, the trailer stuff, I'd had that by the time I started doing farmers markets events.
Right.
And so, yeah.
I'll tell you, I loved your story about that barbecue competition and how you got, you worked so hard, stayed up, bought a lot of great meat, got shut out in ribs, got shut out in chicken. They were counting down the brisket. You were like ready to pack your stuff and get out of there. And guess what? You won.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, once you get to the very, very end, competitions are really painful like that. I mean, we did one last week, and we were down. We've got a group of friends in the barbecue industry all across the country that are part of a team called Morton Anderson's Mullets, and we raise money for a charity called Hogs for the Cause. And so we're down there in New Orleans, and we all have a category we do, and so guys take wings, to bacon, other guys are ribs and pork butt, whole hog, and they start calling down from number 15, and once you start getting to like, hey, they've called number 5, you're like, holy crap, man, we probably didn't get anything. That's just the way your thought is. It's really like, oh crap, well, we're in the top 6 and they didn't call our name yet. Oh, we got 5th. Awesome. And you all celebrate because you just naturally assume, you're like, well, shoot, it hadn't happened yet. Maybe this top 5 category, maybe I'll get top 5. Well, the odds are pretty low in a 90 team cook off. So I mean, it's pretty funny that first competition just being so defeated because I stayed up for like 48 hours. Yeah.
Well, it's nice validation that what you're doing is working. That's that's great before you ever got in the restaurant business. I will tell you, I don't know how many of our listeners understand Morton Anderson's mullet, and particularly apropos for New Orleans, but I certainly get it as a football fan. So that is cool.
For sure. For sure.
So, yeah, and so again, you're a farmers market purveyor of breakfast and lunch, and then came the point in time when you decided to not make it a side hustle, but make it the hustle. And to tell us how that came to be.
Yeah, I mean, so I'd been doing, events and did a couple weddings that first year. And really the takeaway from first year was, okay, we can keep doing these events. It's a lot of freaking work to do it on the side. And, most weeks in peak season, you're working 7 days a week. And so it just kind of became the thought process of, okay, if we want to go catering, if we want to grow the business, we have to have more activities associated with that business. So we started in February of 2017, just opening the food truck just in the parking lot in Johnson near Tyson. And so I was able to drive the trailer. I would drive the cook trailer, drop it off. We'd already all the stuff was in the warmer already. And then we'd be cooking ribs. So I'd have already woken up and started those ribs. This would be on a Friday in spring of 2017. And I'd drop the trailer off, get the fire going, get the ribs right. I'd leave it. And then a friend of mine who was working for me, who now runs his barbecue stuff up in Michigan, he would show up, finish ribs, and then another friend would show up around 10. They'd get ready for lunch, and those two guys would serve lunch. I'd show up when I got off lunch and just check on the trailer, eat lunch, go back to work.
Yeah.
And then they'd clean up, do all the dishes, et cetera. And so at that point, it was like, okay, I'm starting to do these extra things. And then I had my third child. My daughter was born in March of that year. And so I've got 3 kids at that point. That's 17. So I had an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, no, an 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and he's 11. So I had a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and a newborn. And
wow.
And was strongly considering quitting my job and my interest. And so it was funny. I mean, there's a lot of conversations that were taking place because I didn't open the food truck the day my daughter was born. The next week we were back open going, and just working through, building catering. Once we got enough catering, I had about $30,000 worth of jobs over like the next 3 months. I was like, that were committed, and some already paid for it. I was like, you know what? If I can't leave now with this much guaranteed business, when would I ever decide to make that leap? So I cashed out my 401k and paid penalty and took a loan basically for myself, and then borrowed a little money from the bank and signed a lease to into that Johnson building in about June that year. So it was just about, effort, time, what I thought would pay off better. And, a friend of mine at Tyson, he called, they wanted to keep me there. Obviously said, "Hey, we'd love you not to quit. And, what can we do?" And I walked up to my senior VP's office and I said, "Hey, my VP is going to ask you to get more money for me." I was like, I don't want you to tell him yes. Like, I need to leave. And I'm pretty sure if you give me the bump, Tyson's a great company, a great career. I've got lots of friends that have been there a long time. And, obviously it's a great company and one that you can do very well with. But I just told him, I said, I'm pretty sure if you give the raise that, I think that they're going to give, I don't think I'll leave. And I really need to do this. And he was like, "Really? What do you think you can make?" And I told him kind of what I had in the hopper already and what I thought my sales would be and what typical profits should be. And I was like, and he goes, "Well, best of luck." And 7 years later, or 6 years later, that was in 2017, 6 years later, it's going awesome. So
yeah,
it's pretty wild.
I think we can all understand that, with 3 little kids and, thinking about all the expenses that's going to entail. And, I'm sure your wife was looking at you going like, "Are you positive?" Like, yeah. And and so you went and did it. So that was the lease that's the antique store. Was that where you were parking your food truck in front of before you took over that lease?
Yes.
And that was an antique store that, again, I'm lucky enough to have heard you talk about this, that probably wasn't making a ton of money, and you were able to get in at a good cost. But what really struck me, and I haven't been there, is that what you've created there, or created right when you opened, was not just a place to get great barbecue, but a place to hang out and listen to live music and have a cold beer and enjoy the outside, because all the cooking's going on, I guess, of the meat outside, the small buildings where you're, I guess, plating the food, making the sides, and people are sitting and eating. But it really is an experience there. That's safe to say, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are very outdoor centric, but we do have some heated tents. It's interesting. We went after what we thought was feasible to make money, and I didn't want to take really big risk. Obviously, location one, if you fail there, it's pretty tough to do it again. And so, our lease rate was super affordable, and stupid affordable. And so we were able to get in there. But we had a small house with 40 seats inside, and then we had an outdoor seating area that we built. And live music, it's been interesting, since COVID. Kind of talking through locations and how each one feels. The food's the same. I truly believe whether one location has a better day or whatever, maybe that's the difference. But all the processes and all the people have come from Johnson, and then we opened in Rogers with Johnson Pitmaster, and processes, procedures, flavors are the same. Different person pulling a brisket one day versus another person. Maybe you have some variance there. It's really hard. And obviously we've got, if we're cooking 100 briskets between the 2 stores, that's 50 cows. All those 50 cows do different things all day. So, there's going to be variances. And they're from different farms, even though they get processed at the same facility. But food style, at the feel, each place has kind of had its own purpose. We opened Bentonville in 2020, and that's purpose was it was outdoor dining. That was the big thing. That was huge for us even in COVID, even though we shut. Yeah. Well, in COVID we shut down inside, and we ran a drive-through for 12 months.
Right.
So we didn't even have people coming through the line to sit down and eat outside, because we needed all of our parking lot to manage our drive-through line. And so, but Bentonville, on the other hand, we opened it up, and it started it was walk up, order your food. We were all masked up and hanging out, and they would order food, go eat outside, and so you could eat outside on the trail up there at Bentonville, and it's still it's an awesome spot. in season. And, out of season, it's a little difficult up there just because it's cold and people aren't on the trail as much. But we've got such a great squad up there that they did a great job getting through the winter. And, now it's got about 70 seats outside and about 25 inside. So it's got a good little outside, right on the trail. You can watch mountain bikers go off the start of the Bentonville Mountain Bike Trail. And then Rogers, we just opened, and it's our nicest amenity store from a customer standpoint. It was already a set restaurant. We've got 96 seats inside. We've got 150 on the patio. But these are all just different markets, and
right.
They do different things. And there's so many people in Rogers. So
you opened
crazy.
Johnson in 17, and then you opened Bentonville second in 20?
Bentonville was 2020, yeah. And then
And when did you open Rogers?
Last year.
In 22,
November.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll talk through the thought process on that in a minute. But for right now, we're going to take a short break on Heaping Spoonful. We'll be back in just a bit with Jordan Wright of Wright's Barbecue.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of Heaping Spoonful. We at Benny Keith Foods enjoy talking about the food scene almost as much as we enjoy providing the top quality ingredients that help restaurateurs and chefs across the Mid-South create their magic. Now let's dive even deeper into the culinary world with your host, Kelly Bass.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to Heaping Spoonful as we continue our conversation with Jordan Wright. So I knew, again, before I watched the YouTube video that you'd opened those other two stores. It was interesting because Kevin said, your website says locations as in plural, and in fact, there's just one Wright's. And you said, well, I guess they were talking about the food trucks because at that point there was just one. And this is less than 4 years ago. This is 3.5 years ago. So did it just become, we are doing such booming business in Johnson. We've got a whole metroplex stretching all the way up to the Missouri line almost. Let's just go out there and do it. I mean, what was the thought process that said, okay, it's time to do Bentonville?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bentonville was more so we were doing the volume we had in Johnson. There were a couple opportunities at the time. We decided to go do Bentonville. And this is pre-COVID. We were looking at, there was that spot available. And, we kind of said no. And it was an ugly green place called the Back Porch, even though it only had a front porch. And then there was the place in Rogers that we actually are in now that was available for lease too. Pinnacle Bar and Grill had gone out, and they were looking for, the Hunt Ventures was looking for someone to take that spot. And at the time, that was year 3, and we really didn't have the infrastructure, I didn't think, at that time to really open a large endeavor like the one that we need to do in Rogers. And I'm really thankful we didn't pull the trigger on that then, because we learned so much over the last 2 years just through COVID, online ordering, just process improvements, staff improvement. Operationally, we're a better company than we were 3 years ago. And so, but then we kind of just were like, you know what? Oh, then we needed to, this is kind of why Bentonville opened, I guess. I'm trying to think through it, but this is 100%. We're sitting there in 2020 and we're remodeling Johnson because our kitchen was so small. Our staff was so tapped out on work in that, it was really a building that needed repair. It was a 100-year-old building that was falling into disrepair after 3 years of us using it every day and trucking tons of people through there. The floors were given out. It was on a stone foundation, so we had to redo the foundation of the kitchen and most of the restaurant. And so we're starting to work on that project. And while we're starting to work on the project, we're like, okay, what are we going to do from a kitchen standpoint if we don't have a kitchen in Johnson? And so the Brightwater guys loaned us their food truck to do some sides and dish in Johnson. And then we ended up signing this lease for $3,500 a month to go and use their kitchen. So we'd cook sides in Bentonville and we were running sides down to Johnson, and then we were picking up meat and driving it back to Bentonville to sell. So like we had a kitchen just kind of doubling up. So that was really why I was like to keep us in business in the drive-through during the repairs and getting back open. So that was really the big kind of driver for opening Bentonville.
And that road between Johnson and Bentonville, it's not that far, but it can be pretty trafficy and I'm sure just frustrating having to truck up and down the road all the time. So that makes perfect sense. And then so Bentonville's going well. I mean, even during COVID, you start to get where you can open up, things are getting somewhat better, though it drug out a lot longer than any of us expected. So how did Rogers come to be?
So in the same conversation, we were sitting there and working on, the businesses we had, and we made a decision to, bring on extra, operational infrastructure to help me run the business. And just with the plan to, I've got my strengths, I've got my weaknesses. How can I shore up some of my weaknesses and, bring along a team member that can, help carry the load in a lot of things. And, we brought in my money guy, the CFO, brought in the COO. So making those decisions kind of were like, okay, we're bringing on these. What's the next step? Are we going to keep growing? We just want to run it well. And then meet a guy at an event. He was a great guy, and he was a pitching coach in Bentonville. And he was like, man, because, if you ever hire a guy like me, and he's a friend of mine, I was like, absolutely. Like, you're a trusted friend, no doubt. Like, I know you've been a career guy. Like, you're great. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't really often get, someone like that to be like, hey,
sure,
can I come try to work for you? And so in order to do that, I was like, we're going to need to find you a store. And I didn't have a store or anywhere to put it at the time. And so we sit down, and it was really just, God literally opened up opportunities, like really day by day. It was like, we're sitting there Tuesday meeting with him, kind of having an interview, a little bit of a background. And the next day I get a call that the place that was there before us was wanting to go out of, was wanting to shut down, wanted to talk to us about buying all their assets and taking over their lease. And so, that it was really wild. And by the next week, we were in really big discussions, to kind of take over all that stuff and get all that in place. And so that's really how Rogers came to be.
Yeah.
It just kind of happened. And then, we have a really good relationship with the people with Miss Hunt and her team, Tom Allen, Chris Godfrey and those guys. And so we had a really good relationship with that group. And so they were really after us and wanted a partner. They believed in us. And I, it's like, not that I didn't believe in us in 2020. It was really just, I thought, that was a lot of restaurant to bite off for who we were at the time. It was just me. And, I had a few trained people that really could be like, we didn't have a whole bevy. We didn't have the culture. We didn't have the team we have today. It just takes time to build. And so when it struck at the right time, and it's been a great operation. The people at Rogers are loving it. And so it's killing it.
Yeah,
it's
great.
It's been a blast.
Well, you got your guy, and then you got your spot within a few days of each other. And, I can understand as a business owner how it was a big move to bring in some more administrative support and counsel from the COO and the CFO perspective. It's like, hey, we're like a real business now. We're not just guys who know how to cook barbecue. Not that you, like you said, you also were aware of your own strengths and your own weaknesses, and that's what a good leader does. He fills in the gaps and moves forward. So that's really cool. And then in late 22 is when the first time I saw a teaser about a Little Rock location of Wright's. I think it may have been a tweet or a post of some social post from you. I can't remember exactly, but the media picked up on it. It was like, whoa. Is that how it worked?
That tweet was awesome.
Yeah. It got a lot of attention because, how a lot of people from Little Rock go to Northwest Arkansas for a variety of reasons, whether that's Razorbacks or Crystal Bridges or to eat Wright's barbecue or whatever. And yeah, you piqued a lot of curiosity. So we're recording this episode of Heaping Spoonful in early April of 2023. At this point, what's the status on Little Rock?
So we're under construction. They're starting to frame out the inside. Got a little delayed. First off, I love the building. That's why we bought it. It's super cool. Once we got rid of some of the infrastructure they had done to kind of basically cover up the dance floor. It used to be a place called the Wine Cellar, and
where
it was this, and it was this. I think we talked about we reviewed pre-show, but it was a haunt, and it was a local, a bar, late night spot, and so there was an upstairs bar that overlooked the dance floor. And they had kind of built a roof structure and put some HVAC, and they'd used it for storage. And it was just this big hut used for storage. And so we were sitting there looking through it and trying to figure out what we wanted to do with the building. And the original plan was to tear everything out and then just build basically a back of house and a cut line and have the rest be seating. And it might not have been the best decision financially, but I think it will be the best decision for the business and for the restaurant itself. We kept pretty much everything except for that storage area all the way back. We've got to redo the bathrooms. They used to be downstairs, but we kept the upstairs. We kept the balcony. We're redoing the railing. We've got some long-term plans for the bar. And who knows if there's if there's extra room in the budget, which right now we're over budget, but we'll figure out how to get that upstairs bar it might be whether we do a little speakeasy where it's just kind of that bar is going to be open, when it's open, and we'll send a code out when it's open or something. Who knows? But it's a really cool upstairs balcony. And with the shape of that building and keeping that upstairs, even for overflow seating, whatever, it's a really cool spot. We can have people have reserved tables up there. If there's a private party, there's a lot of options for that upstairs balcony area, and it just looks really cool. We decided to do that. So that kind of delayed. When I was in December, they were starting demo, and it was guys, I don't think we should take any of this out. There's this old wood. There's these big timber columns in the downstairs. And they're 16 inches by 16. They're massive columns. Right. And you just can't get those anywhere. And so they were going to tear them out. They were going to take them all down. And I was like, why would we take these down? Let's just leave this. This is what I want. And I want to leave all this stuff. I don't want to branded building inside a hut. Let's just build a branded building if we're going to build a branded. And it turns out it doesn't matter what you do to save money. They're going to still try to find a way to make it more expensive. So by not doing anything, we somehow spend more money. I don't know how that works. So hopefully we're in the July range. We'll see. We might have, if we can get good news on some of this stuff and, get fast and people get done with their stuff, and hopefully it's sooner. Yeah. My brother's going to move down to run it.
To help you run it? Yeah. Or to run it?
Yeah. So my brother's going to be the GM down there. So.
Cool. Yep, he lives in Northwest. He lives
in Northwest Arkansas right now. Yeah. He's about to move down.
Oh, cool. Well, I've seen the renderings. Looks like you have some outdoor space, which will not be much good in July, but it'll be great like in March and other times. But
early times.
Yeah, you mentioned it, but those of us of a certain age, and that doesn't include you, but it does include me. It's a Quonset hut, and it was the Wine Cellar, and the Wine Cellar was one of about 3 places that were open, the Checkmate in North Little Rock, that were open until 5. So those of us who were brilliant enough when the other bars closed to decide we were not ready to go home, you went to the Wine Cellar or you went to the Checkmate, and I have spent a few nights in the Checkmate. It's in both actually, but I remember I was in my early 20s and single, and I've been up and looking down on the dance floor from that balcony. It's really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to tell you something that you already know. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. It's going to be busy as hell. The moment you open the doors, you're going to be slammed, and you're going to be slammed for perpetuity. It's going to be people, people know your brand. They know what you're doing. And, you know, it's going to be fabulous. And I live less than 1 mile from there. I live up on the hill that looks down on Cantrell.
Nice.
So,
nice.
I
believe you're totally right. And then not in a like a, you know, prideful manner, but like, man, it's unbelievable how good our team does at executing the plan, the vision that I have for the stores and what we want to do from a hospitality standpoint. I mean, we're just very focused on guest experience, and that will never change. There will never be a moment in time where our focus as a business is not to make everyone feel 100% welcome, 100% that we cared about their service they got, and that they, you know, receive the best possible treatment from all of our team. And if there's something in that list that didn't happen, you know, we own it. We own it quickly, and we reach out to customers, whether it's a review, which we don't have that many bad reviews, but you have to read all of them. You have to understand that everybody that comes through your door is a human. They have feelings. They're valid. They're relevant. And even if you don't agree with them, you've got to understand where they're coming from and try to get to their level of, you know, show that empathy that hey, I get it. You spent your dollar on something that you feel was not of value to you. And that hurts me as a business owner when that happens. And so we've got to do the best we can to A, make sure that doesn't happen very often, and then B, really take care of the guest when and if it does. You know, so you know that's big for us.
Yeah, well, you know, you've surrounded yourself with a great team, and that's one of the, you know, we're up over 80 episodes of Heaping Spoonful, and some of the themes are, first off, one I heard you say, which is I really like cooking food for people and then watching how much they enjoy it. Number two is I got to surround myself with good people and stay focused on the guest experience, because ultimately it is about more than the food, and I think some people lose sight of that. I do want to read one passage from the About section on your website and ask you about this.
Yes, sure.
It says, we've given people the opportunity to go back in time and experience a cooking experience that is uncommon to this area and is becoming more rare as time goes on. We take people back to the method of open flame, 100% wood fire on a pit. It's simple, but it's hard. We believe the only way to achieve the flavor and tenderness of real barbecue is through the method of old. So for people who don't really know much about how barbecue might be prepared at other places, what's the difference in that and what might be happening at another barbecue restaurant?
So, yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, we were the first people that started cooking completely indirect. And I mean, maybe there were some others that were, and now there's some different style pits, and they fire below, and, you know, kind of the style of cooking of Texas is offset pits, 100% wood fired, no charcoal, you know, just more burning wood for smoke flavor, heat, and, you know, the cylinder, we cook in these large 1,000-gallon propane tanks. You know, most people are cooking in rotisserie, Old Hickory, Southern Prides, you know, or a homemade pit, or like an old style pit, like the one down in McClard's in Hot Springs. Like, that's a different style pit. Smitty's, I think, not Smitty's, is it Sims? Little Rock?
Yeah, Sims.
Sims has a different style pit. So everyone's got just different styles of cooking and how they manage their cooks. And there's no, you know, perfect way, right way. There's, you know, I think there's best practices in any way you do it. But to me, you know, we don't have any electrical aids. We just bought a rotisserie just to kind of experience and see if we liked it, just to help us with cold smoking sausage and doing some other stuff with it. And so we're kind of TBD on that, but, you know, yeah, I mean, it's not very common that people stay up all night cooking barbecue in our in our neck of the woods. Most places you're trying to get it done. And even if there's a better way, a better process for us to do it without that, like we would obviously explore that. But never at the sacrifice of the food quality. And so our goal is always to produce fresh barbecue the next day. And that's what we're going to have. And, we don't love to have extra. We like to try to hit exactly where we want to hit and hopefully sell out of a few items at some point during the day, because we're trying to run a good business. We don't want to have a bunch of waste. And so while customers may be upset we're out of an item at 6:00, well, I'd rather be out of that item than have a bad item from yesterday or 2 days ago or 3 days ago that I'm reheating just to sell you that item. We're not a fast food place.
It's not like a hamburger where you can just throw it on the flat top and have it done in 5 minutes. So
100%
barbecue. Yeah.
And if you want a burger, we can throw that on the flat top and cook you a brisket burger. But it's not going to be the bacon burning. So.
Right, gotcha. So before we close, I'd like you to provide a little color commentary on some of your menu items, just because I enjoy looking at the very enticing but not huge menu. And so we haven't talked yet, but you mentioned it in passing, I think, about your sausage or your bacon burned ends. Will you tell us about what you do with those two items, sausage and bacon burned ends?
Yeah, so our sausage is made in-house. So we grind our brisket trim and make in-house jalapeno cheddar sausage and an original beef sausage, and it's great. And then we have probably our most popular kind of niche item is outside of the brisket is our bacon burn ends. We cube up pork belly, season them, cook them. It's a pretty labor-intensive product, but it's really, really delicious, and people love them. They're little bacon snacks, and they're pretty awesome.
Can't really go wrong there. I see under the meat, it says meat on the bun and one side. And these words are there, and I'm going to let you tell me what they mean. It says chicken, bacon, ranch, woo pig, Pumbaa, and turkey. I don't have an idea what all of that means.
I'll start with the turkey, the easiest. Turkey sandwich.
Yep.
There's that one.
I know what turkey is.
I got that one. I got that one. There's turkey sandwich. Yeah. So on the bun, and then we got the chicken bacon ranch is a chicken bacon ranch. So there's sliced chicken breast, our bacon burn ends chopped up with ranch. And then our woo pig is pulled pork with our jalapeno cheddar sausage and coleslaw. And then the Pumbaa is brisket, pork, and sausage. That's like a big meat sandwich. It's basically probably the best deal in the dead gum menu, but it's just a lot of meat.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So, yeah.
And then you got bowls. You got Big John with brisket, Fritos, and smoked beans. Loaded Mac, which is mac cheese with pork or brisket. Rocket Man, which is mashed potatoes, briskets, and bacon. And you can put mac cheese on that if you want. Barbecue nachos. You got tortilla chips, queso, pico de gallo, pork, chicken, or brisket.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, again, those are custom things. Are those pretty popular items for you?
Yeah, I mean, we've really found a big advantage just by kind of taking things that were like kind of already in our wheelhouse and just kind of making combinations with them. And then, we added queso a couple of years ago to do barbecue nachos, and those are killer. People love the nachos. I mean, that's one of our popular bowls. So
see that.
People love barbecue nachos. So yeah, I mean, it's been awesome just getting to play with it and be like, okay, people want this item. Should we do it? And then, just kind of creating items and just playing around with it.
So I didn't see queso on the menu. Can you just get cheese dip and chips or not?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. It's Arkansas. You pretty much got to have it.
Absolutely. And so you can get cheese dip and chips and you can get, brisket, cheese dip, and it's awesome. Yeah, it's great. We got great cheese dip.
And we talked earlier about how one of your big first forays into this business was catering. And that was a major stream of, your lifeblood, and you kind of opened your eyes to what was possible. Is catering, and I see catering on your menu, is that still on your website? Is that still a big chunk of your business?
Yes. I mean, it's a huge part. So
yeah,
we do a ton of private events and a ton of events. We're in the Razorback stadiums. Donald W. Reynolds, and we're in Donald W. Reynolds. We're in
you in Bud Walton.
We're in Bud Walton. We're in Baum.
Wow.
So
that's volume right there.
We're doing a ton. That all runs through our catering events team, and it's just you have to. It's one of those things that when you look at what we do, and okay, if I can cook this, if I can use the same amount of wood and the same amount of people to cook for 200, 300 more people in that day, then there's your operational efficiency. Every time you get a big hit, you can expand your capacity and your sales on, similar labor, or just adding maybe one more person, but especially similar throughputs like our wood usage. If I'm using 1.5 cookers and I can fill up that other half cooker with food that's sold, then now I'm more efficient with my stuff. So that's kind of our our deal is just kind of, we want to take care. And again, our main thing is how do we service people the best of our ability and, treat them really well no matter where they're at. And so whether that's their event.
Right. Well, the other thing is brand equity and raising awareness. All of a sudden I'm at Donald W. seeing a hog game. I've driven up from El Dorado, and I know about Wright's Barbecue. So next time I'm up there to go to a game or to go to Crystal Bridges or whatever, I know what I like, and that's great. So let's thinking back. I watched an interview from 3.5 years ago, and you got one restaurant, and today in early 2023, you're on the cusp of number 4. You may not even want to hear this question, but should we expect to look up in a few more years and see that Wright's has continued to multiply, or is it just one step at a time?
I think that, the goal is to open where we have great people, whether it's a good market, et cetera. And then, are we in the right position to grow and make a great restaurant? And, we have other restaurant ideas as well. We're kind of tossing around, but I think it's, I think that the Wrights brand itself, can only continue to get better. I mean, that's the goal, is just to keep improving processes, products. And if we can go to another place and do it as good and better, then you have to think about it if it's the right, opportunity, and then balance that with like overall life goals, stress goals, debt, et cetera. There's a lot that goes into it. It's like, I would love to open wherever, but we're 100%, our own business. We don't have to answer to, an investor. And so it's a lot more fun getting to work like that and just constantly trying to make someone else happier with like performance. So we try to make, by keeping it in-house, we're able to take care of our team members better. We're able to do a lot more things that maybe not make us the most profitable business, but make us the best business to work for, and the best business to be a part of. So two things. I heard you say that in 2019 that you had 32 employees, and clearly a lot of those are doing catering and cooking and doing a lot of things. How many are you up to now? We're just at, I think we're right at 100 right now, or just under.
Wow. Yeah. That's it. So all of a sudden, you've got a CFO and a COO. Somebody's got to take care of HR, because there's a lot of HR involved in 100 folks, and I'm sure you got that handled.
For sure.
But, and I also like that you said, hey, you know what? We're open Tuesday to Saturday. We could be open Sunday, we could be open Monday, but that's a Pandora's box that once you open it up, you can't close it. Nobody gets any time off.
Yeah, no doubt. So that's a big thing for us, is not wanting to overwhelm. There might be a chance, that we open on Mondays at some point. Just because we're already there anyways, working pretty much.
Sure. You're cooking all the time.
So
we're cooking all the time. The fire doesn't go out, right? The fire pretty much doesn't go out. It's going all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, listen, thanks, Jordan, for being my guest today on Heaping Spoonful. Continued good luck. I'm super personally excited about what's going on in Little Rock. I'm excited. There's, again, less than a mile from my house. And thanks to everybody who's listening today. New episodes of Heaping Spoonful are posted on the first and third Tuesdays of each month. So keep an eye and an ear out for them. And hey, if you've missed any, check them out. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Heaping Spoonful. On behalf of all of us at Benny Keith Foods, Mid-South Division, please know how much we love connecting you with the legends of the culinary scene and their unique stories. I look forward to the next time we can offer you another Heaping Spoonful.